Good morning, guys. I thought that I would show you using a tool called Screencast-O-Matic how to solve three-digit subtraction problems with regrouping. Parents, this may help you kind of get an understanding of how the Common Core strategies in math works for second grade, because they are quite different from the way that maybe you and I learned math with borrowing and carrying the 1 or the 10. We call that regrouping. So it's really the same concept, just it looks very different in the way that the students work the problem out, but the concept itself is the same. We call it regrouping though. So I'm going to show you today how to regroup from the hundreds place to the tens place using the partial sum strategy, which is the strategy that we encourage our students to use the most because it's the most efficient strategy. So let's say I had the problem 679 minus 388. Well, when I use partial sums, I'm going to show what each digit is worth. So I'm going to actually write on my board. So I would write 600 because the 6 in the hundreds place in 679 is worth 6 100s minus 300 from 388. Then underneath the hundreds place that I just showed you, I'm going to write the tens places, just like they look. The students want to switch it, but they cannot switch it. It has to stay where it is. So I'm going to write 70 minus 80, which we know we can't do. If we hold up 7 fingers and we try to take away 8 fingers, it won't work. You cannot take a greater number from a smaller number. But that's why we have to regroup. So then I show my ones before I do any regrouping. 9 in the ones place in 679 minus 8 in the ones place in 388. My problem is set up and ready to go with the partial sum strategy. Now, when I look at this problem, I have to ask myself a question. Do I have enough tens? No, because I cannot take 7 tens minus 8 tens. Do I have enough ones? Yes, because 9 minus 8 is 1, so I can do that. So now what I'm going to do before I solve each step of the problem, I'm going to regroup. So I'm actually going to use a different color just to show you this. How I teach it is I go to my richest neighbor. So I look at the numbers and I decide who's worth the most, who's the greatest number. He's the richest, he has the most money. That's the 600 in this problem. So I'm going to knock on his door. When I knock on his door, I'm going to ask him if I can borrow a $10 bill because I need a group of 10, which would be equivalent to a $10 bill. He says sure. He always is very friendly and very generous, so he always will give you what you need. So I'm actually going to cross out the hundreds, and I'm going to take a group of 100. I'm so sorry, I made a mistake in that. I'm going to borrow a $100 bill from him, not a 10. I'm going to take a group of 100. So I'm going to subtract 100 from that place and give it to the tens place. So 600 minus 100 is 500. So I write that out to the side. And then when I take a 100, when I regroup it, put it into a different group, I have to give it somewhere. I can't just leave it hanging. So if I took it from 600 and made that 500, I have to give it down here to the tens place. So I say 100 plus the 70 that I already have is 170. Now, do I have enough tens is what I ask myself. Yes, because I have a greater number minus a smaller number when I say 170 minus 80. So now I can solve going across. So I start at the top. 500 minus 300 is 200. Put my equal sign. 170 minus 80. This is where it may get tricky for you guys. The students have a hard time with the tens places. Miss Gregory always says, draw your 10 sticks if you're having a hard time, or use blocks to count. So I'm going to draw 17 tens, which is 17 sticks, and then I'm going to take away 8 of them. 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, 90, 100, 110, 120, 130, 140, 150, 160, 170. Now I'm going to scratch out by just scribbling with my pen 8 of them. 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80. And then I'm going to count the ones that I did not scratch out because that's what's left over. So I count 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, 90. So I have 90 tens. And then I say 9 minus 8, that's 1. And sometimes this actually tricks the students because they don't know their basic facts. And if they don't know their basic facts, their computation, their actual math solving, and the answer will be incorrect. So be careful on that. Now, the next step in partial sum strategy is to add up. And this is where it tricks some students because we are subtracting. But at the end, the last step in the partial sum strategy when you're subtracting is to add up what you have solved. So 200 plus 90 plus 1. And that equals 291. And I circle my answer. That is regrouping with the hundreds using the partial sum strategy. In a different video, I'll show you how to regroup with the tens place regrouping to the ones because that looks a little different sometimes. And some problems have where you have to regroup twice, and that always tricks students. So I'll show you that as well in a different video. I hope this helps you with your math this week.